Wow. I came into this film with some very, very low expectations. Marvel's Eternals were never a superhero group that I found to be particularly interesting. I mean, all they really are is this group of sentient, godlike beings created by the Celestials, which are these cosmic elder gods pretty much, to fight these creatures known as the Deviants and keep them from getting out of line and wreaking havoc. And also, this movie's trailers did not do a very good job of getting me, or most people, for the most part, excited about it, because most of the trailers, they were dull, bland, and colorless, and they didn't really explain much. But despite having low expectations and honestly not really wanting to come and see this film actually did a lot better than I thought it would. And at the beginning, they had me worried because they were doing this Star Wars-esque type of screen narration where, they have the words flowing up, explaining what's going on. And that had me worried for a minute, because when you're doing movies or anything like this, it's often a lot better to show and not tell. But as the story began to unfold and we were introduced to the characters, I was actually very impressed. I mean, the story's not perfect, but it did a lot better than I thought it would. So let me just summarize the plot. Alright, so the plot revolves around a lot of internal conflicts. The Eternals were created by the Celestials to do their tasks. They're only supposed to fight the Deviants, which is why I really never found them interesting. If you guys read the comics, well, Chaos War event, only one of the Eternals, Cersei, joined the God Squad and helped people fight Mikabachi, the Chaos King. The rest of them were nowhere to be found. But whenever you read the Eternals comics, I haven't read them all, but I read the classic comics and I think one of the modern ones, but they pretty much do the same thing. They just fight the Deviants. And comic book Deviants look more like deformed humans, but in the movie, they look a lot more like demonic animals. But back to what I was saying, the plot evolves around a lot of eternal conflict amongst the Eternals. Okay, so it says that the reason why they didn't get involved in any wars or when Thanos snapped his fingers or anything like that is because they didn't want the humans to become weak. They wanted the humans to evolve without their help, because if the Eternals would help out the humans and interfere with their wars and everything, the humans would get too weak, and so they wanted to butt out of things. Well, some of them did, so they can help the humans grow and develop like they were supposed to, which makes sense, because that was what a lot of people were wondering about the Eternals. Like, yo, where the hell were you guys at when Thanos snapped his fingers, or when Loki tried to invade, or when Ultron tried to drop a city on the planet and destroy humanity? Well, they explained it, and I was cool with that. So the eternal conflict goes on. And yes, the Deviants do show up and try to wreak havoc, but again, most of the conflict in this movie is within the Eternals themselves. Right, so you have Ajak, played by Salma Hayek, who says that, just because we're Eternals doesn't mean we have to bow down and serve the Celestials. We can live our own lives. And some of the Eternals agree with that, but some don't. So the Eternals end up going their separate ways, and then there's this part where the humans are having a war, and then what's his name? Guy with the mind control powers. I can't remember him off the top of my head. I believe it's Druig. Yeah, that's his name, Druig. He wanted to use his mind control powers to stop the humans from having war, but one of the Eternals proposed, no, we're not supposed to get involved. Then he ends up getting upset. Then the rest of them separate, and there's also this subplot with Thena going crazy that doesn't really go anywhere. I think one of the Deviants was controlling her or something, but that doesn't really go anywhere. So Gilgamesh, the strong Eternal with the strong punch, he goes off with her and takes care of her for a few years. And then that this whole thing about to happen with one of the Celestials about to wipe out all life on Earth, and the Eternals want to band together to stop it. But then we have something interesting that really happens. All right, there is a very good twist villain here. You would think it would be all about the Eternals versus the Deviants here in this film, but there is a twisted villain, and it's somebody you wouldn't expect the least, and it's Icarus, the leader. Now, a lot of people look at Icarus as it's kind of like Superman archetype, and people can see the similarities. He has the flight, super strength, and the heat vision powers, and he is, unironically, the strongest of them. And so he gets tired of his fellow Eternal selfishness, wanting to live their lives and protect the humans, and go against the Celestials' wishes. And so they end up fighting amongst themselves, trying to stop their boss after uniting. And then there's also this subplot with the Deviants that doesn't go anywhere either. Like, the story, in my opinion, was good, but it's not perfect. Alright, so the two of the Eternals get killed, and I found this to be weird because I thought the Eternals were supposed to be like Eternals and they weren't supposed to be able to die, but two of them died. At first it was Ajak, then Gilgamesh, but once Icarus turns on them, you find that he was the reason why Ajak and Gilgamesh got killed by the Deviant, and the Deviant absorbed their powers and human-like characteristics. And then he spoke for the first time, saying that he's tired of him and his people being killed and he's going to take a stand. Right, well, that doesn't really go anywhere. After the other Eternals, Cersei, Athena, Phastos, and Druig, and Makkari too, manage to defeat and overpower Icarus. They go after the Deviant, and Athena kills the Deviant. Alright, and that storyline doesn't really go anywhere, like I said. But after that, the movie ends. Icarus realizes he made a mistake and fighting against his friends, and he flies away. And then the other Eternals go back to living their lives with the humans that they've bonded with. And then the Celestial that they serve shows up at the end and says, you guys have made your choice. We're going to see in a few years if these humans that you sacrificed yourself for are worth it. And I think that sets up for a pretty good sequel. I mean, story actually blew my mind. It actually made me excited just to see where they're going to go with this. Alright, and there was 2 post-credit scenes. One of them introduces Eros, which, for those who aren't familiar, he's the brother of Thanos. And this is one thing that I didn't like about the MCU was that they took out Thanos way too soon. Alright, one thing that I forgot about Thanos is that he is part Eternal, and the reason why he looks the way he does is because he's also part Deviant. And then they brought in his brother Eros along with Pip the Troll, and then there's another post-credit scene bringing up the Ebony Blade. Now, this is the same dude that was dating Cersei in the film. Apparently, I think he's gonna become the Black Knight, because I believe the Black Knight got confirmed for the MCU a while back ago, and they were doing this concept art. But whatever. Alright, so just a few more things. You get this movie. Had some comedy. Alright, it confirms that DC Comics exists in this Marvel Cinematic Universe. When Icarus and Cersei go to visit Phastos, then Phastos' son says that he resembles Superman and Clark Kent because he was flying, he had heat vision. Icarus and Superman had the similarities, and that was pointed out in the film. And Icarus points out that Phastos was using his powers the whole time. Because Phastos, he's kind of the cyborg archetype of the group. He controls machinery, and Phastos has been using his powers to really pimp out his home defenses. Like, everything's almost impossible to break, but Icarus smashes his table, and then Phastos is like, this was an IKEA table. Ass. And that was one of the funny moments. Also, the CGI fights look great. Makkari was my favorite Eternal to see on the screen. Like, she didn't do this slow motion thing. She was like a real-time speedster. And at the end of the movie, when they're fighting Icarus, she manages to overpower him for a minute before getting knocked back herself. One of my favorites. Kingo was great too. Him and his partner Garan, they were the movie people. There's this scene where the deviants attack the camp, and Kingo was trying to shoot them off, but Karan was trying to record action footage. And then like Kingo was like, "Dude, are you mental? You need to get to safety." But Karan wanted to get that action footage. That was funny too. But yeah, this movie did a lot better than I thought it would, and I was actually very impressed. I'll just go ahead and wrap this up and give this movie a solid 8.5 out of 10.